How's it going, guys, and welcome to Out of Bounds. I am your host, James Skrmetta. Thank you so much for tuning in. You could have been anywhere in the world, as we say, but you decided to spend 30 minutes of sports talk with me, the guy who's doing what your local sports radio cannot do. They know we're coming. They know what we do. They know where we are. And they still show up every day and talk about whatever they talk about and wish they could do it like we do it. But I'm not here to gloat. I'm a humble man. Before we get started, guys, we got a stacked show. I don't have time to waste. We got an absolute maniac of a show here. We got topics on deck. College football bowl season is just one day away. 1 day away from college football bowls. But we're got to do the promos. We got to talk about where you can find us. Audio-wise, if you don't want to see my face, you wouldn't be the first. Audio-wise, we can be found on iTunes. Search my name, James Skrmetta, Skrmetta. Or audiomac.com. It's kind of like SoundCloud, but it's free. That's pretty cool. Same deal, search my name. And exciting news, we have partnered with Stitcher, the future of radio. Stitcher is an app on your phone. Download it, and it's just podcast, right? And it tailor makes these stations for you on what podcast you like. The big dogs are on there, guys. It's not like iTunes where anyone can be on there. You got to be a big dog to be on Stitcher. Me, Bill Simmons, Mark Maron, Nerdist, the big shots on Stitcher, the future of radio. Go download the app, search my name, add me to your favorites, and my episodes will pop up every Monday and Friday. Twice a week, you'll get the best sports radio you can find anywhere, totaling of an hour's worth. And you can go on YouTube if you want to see my face. If you're in the minority, go to YouTube, search my name, James Skrmetta. My channel will pop up. Subscribe. You'll get Mondays simulcast, Tuesdays James Skrmetta Experience, a weekly news show with a little bit of a Saturday Night Live Norm Macdonald weekend update feel. And you'll get Friday's episode of Out of Bounds. You'll get, boom, 2 simulcasts, 1 newscast. Well, I mean, for free. Come on. Today, we're talking the finale of the U.S. Women's National Team victory tour against China in the Superdome. We'll talk Cam Newton. Seems to be always on the show, or always talked about on the show. He's never on the show. I keep calling him. He never returns my phone calls. But there's talk about resting Cam Newton. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to debate that. Then we're going to talk about the bowls. We're going to give you some winners. Give you some winners for the bowls. And I'll give you some winners for the NFL. And we'll end this thing like friends. So let's go ahead and start the show with the U.S. Women's National Team. If you've been living under a rock, they've been on a victory tour. They've been going to spots all over the nation. They went to Chattanooga, they went to Birmingham, they went to New Orleans, they went to Hawaii. They've gone all over the place. And they've been doing it since the World Cup pretty much. And they throttle people. Well, they lost. First time they've lost in like 10 years in America. I think it was 104 matches was the streak of on American soil. They have not lost, and they lost the last game of the victory tour, which sucks. But 104-1 ain't too shabby. But the game also has significance because it was the last game of the victory tour and Abby Wambach's last game ever. She retired from the game of soccer for international play. She doesn't play in the MLS. In the National Women's Soccer League, the female parallel to the MLS. She doesn't play in that, so this is it. She's done. And I'm sure she'll coach or something. But as a player, Abby Wambach, arguably the greatest ever, the greatest goal scorer in World Cup history, an Olympian, it's hard pressed. She's in rarefied air. Her, Mia Hamm, people like that. They're in that breath. And it was her last game. And it was a very emotional game. The Superdome, obviously, housed the game. And I thought it was interesting because it was on a Thursday night. Saints play on Monday night. So, there's stuff going on in the city. The Pelicans they were on the road, but they're playing. A lot of stuff's happening. Thursday night, 33,000 people showed up. And obviously, it's not all from New Orleans, but it's undeniable. that something is happening with soccer. And if you've listened to my show, you've heard me talk about the MLS almost every single week. And New Orleans is a city that could really dominate an MLS market because it's got the dome. You don't have to fill the dome up. Like in Atlanta's getting a team in 2017, and they're playing in the new Mercedes Dome in Atlanta. And what they do is they drop these banners, like this big circular banner. It's almost like a scoreboard, but it's real circular. And they drop it over the upper deck so that it makes it feel like an 80,000 seat stadium turns into a 40,000 seat stadium. And when there's 20,000 people there to watch a soccer game, it's a pretty intimate experience. It's a pretty serious home environment. They try and kind of equate it. They change the venue pretty much to make it not feel empty. And the Dome in New Orleans could do the exact same thing. And I mean, imagine the MLS team, the home field advantage in the Dome in New Orleans, the same kind of raucous energy that the Saints have, but for an MLS team. And you don't have to have that many people. The average attendance for the MLS, which has the third highest average attendance for American sports, which is pretty incredible. Okay, it's higher than the NBA. It's higher than the NHL. Pretty nice. It's only 20,000 people. So if 33,000 people would show up for a women's national team against China, with really no reason, like the game had no bearing, it was just a friendly. That same number or close to it, I would say somewhere between, on an average night, there's only like 17 home games. So on an average night, maybe 18 to 20,000, and on a night where big names are there, 20 to 25,000. That's damn good. That's above the average, right around the average. I mean, the MLS has names that you know. Trust me, if you watch soccer at all, it's got names. Pirlo, Drogba, Dempsey, Giovinco, people like that, and it's only getting bigger. When huge teams, New York FC comes down with Pirlo and Frank Lampard and David Villa, or Montreal comes down with Didier Drogba, or Toronto comes down with Josie Altidore, Michael Bradley, Sebastian Giovinco, or LA comes down with Steven Gerrard, Robbie Keane, Giovanni Dos Santos. That's big-time players, not to mention whoever will be on New Orleans. And I mean, the expansion teams get big-time players. The last few expansion teams, Orlando City, they got Kaká. New York FC, they got Frank Lampard, David Villa, Pirlo. So they're not afraid to bring big-name players. I think that New Orleans makes a lot of sense for the MLS. And it's a different market, because some of the spots are like Salt Lake, and it's kind of these rural places they play. Like the stadium's just built for that, and it's kind of it looks kind of like a glorified high school stadium, really. Like if you see the Colorado Rapids, their stadium, or the Houston Dynamo stadium, it looks kind of like the women's version of the MLS, they play at colleges. Like the New York team plays at Rutgers. So, it's the Dome would be outrageous. Seattle plays at CenturyLink. They play at the same place the Seahawks play. And their home, like their fan base is crazy. Like it's nuts. And they're not packing out that stadium, but it's incredible. And LA sometimes plays at the Rose Bowl, and there's stuff that happens. So I think that it'd be a hell of a thing. And there was also one more thing real quick about this. Abby did an interview with Bill Simmons on his podcast, and she talked about the men's national team and said she would fire Jurgen Klinsmann 100%. And she said some other things about how they don't have the winning culture. They bring in foreigners, she said, which caught a little bit of heat. But it was interesting to hear, because you always think of one and the same, right? You always think like the men's team and the women's team, but you forget that they're two totally different entities. Jill Ellis coaches the women's team, and Jurgen Klinsmann coaches the men's. The women's team are the best team in the world. They have been for a long time. The men's team barely can crack the top 20. So it is different, and it's interesting to hear a woman on a woman's team put down a men's team like that. Usually it's vice versa. Usually, like if a WNBA team, if a WNBA player said that about an NBA player, you'd be like, well, they would just dominate you. Like Skylar Diggins is never going to say that about LeBron. But I honestly think that the women's team would give the men's team a damn. They'd probably beat them. With the form they were in the World Cup, they'd probably beat them. And soccer is one of the only sports that is like that. It's very even. That's why the women's game works so well, is because it's not a different game. We've talked about that before on this show. The WNBA and the NBA are totally different games. You don't see dunks. You don't see the fast breaks. You don't see alley-oops. You don't see all that stuff. There's not even a female football. So, but the women's soccer game is almost identical. It is identical to the men's game. I just think it's interesting to see that dynamic of how similar the games are, but how different the level of play is from the same country. It's crazy. But that's all we'll talk about soccer. I tell you what, that's a good way to lose your audience, is starting the show with 6 minutes about soccer. But hopefully y'all are believing in the hype and y'all are buying into what we talk about here with the MLS and the American soccer teams and the way we're moving forward with soccer. And the dying light of the NFL and with head injuries and stuff like that, it's going to start to do like this. Like the NFL is going to go down and the soccer is going to rise. I'm not saying that soccer will surpass the NFL, but they're going to move. Like they're going to start moving in those directions. But we shall move on. I promise. I'll save you now. We'll talk some NFL. We'll talk some professional football. Some American football. Get your beef jerky out, boys. Get some ice on that Budweiser. Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers are fighting for an undefeated season. Including me, people thought that this season would be a terrible year for the Panthers. Their number one wide receiver was Ted Ginn. They lost Steve Smith. They lost that presence. Kelvin Benjamin got hurt in the preseason. He was out for the year. And you couldn't name anyone on the defense besides Luke Kuechly. It was not looking good at all. D'Angelo Williams left. Jonathan Stewart's always hurt. No one knew what to expect. I said it. Other critics said it. That the Panthers would have a bad year. If they won 5 games, they'd be lucky. Then something happened. And Cam Newton turned into Cam Newton. Cam Newton is playing in the NFL right now exactly how he played in college. He is dominating the games. He's taking over the games. And more importantly, he has instilled a culture of we will not lose this game no matter how close it is, no matter how much time's left. We will win this game. Cam Newton has been the best player in the NFL this year. What he's done in every single game, whether it's a blowout game against Atlanta or a nail-biter against New Orleans, he has shouldered that team. He shouldered the city the exact same way he did at Auburn. And with players like Cam, with players like Jameis Winston, with players like that, Tim Tebow, Johnny Manziel, players that shoulder that load for their college teams, it's a different breed. It is a different animal. Even with Johnny in Cleveland, as much trouble as Manziel's had, you can tell when he's on the field, it's a different team. They have something about him. Tebow, same deal. Tebow won in spite of Denver. Despite John Elway. It's just something about them, something about their presence, something about how they are, what they believe, the standard they've set for themselves. And Cam Newton has set that standard now for Carolina. Carolina believes in Cam Newton like some down-on-his-luck 33-year-old believes in Tony Robbins. Cam Newton, if he was holding hour-long seminars, the Panthers would be paying thousands of dollars to sit in there and take notes. Cam believes. Charlotte believes. North Carolina believes. Auburn believed. Every single person on that team believes. So now the question is, do you sit Cam Newton or do you play for the undefeated season? Let's just say they have one game left. Do you risk the injury of Cam Newton or do you put Derek Anderson out there and see what happens? There's two sides of it. There's a side that says, F the undefeated season. Nobody remembers that. People remember the Super Bowl. If you don't win the Super Bowl, the undefeated regular season is nothing. Ask New England. The other side of that says, You can't play scared. You can't play negative. You got to put your guys out there. You can't. If you rest Cam at the last game of the season, then the bye week, he'll be coming off 2 weeks of rest. It messes up the rhythm. So where do you stand? I'll tell you where I stand. You dance with the person who brought you there. I'm not saying you play Cam Newton every play. I'm not saying you quarterback sneaking on 4th and 3. I'm not saying you run a lot of quarterback reads. What I'm saying is you play the game with your starters and you try and win the game. If it's me, I'm playing Cam Newton every game of the season. If we're 15-0, win that last game, and we're winning in the third quarter, I'll take him out. It's a tight game, he's going to play. I'm doing it for the team, I'm doing it for the fans, I'm doing it for him. That's what the players want, and I really do believe in the whole rhythm. You take Cam Newton out, Derek Anderson plays. 2 weeks off, man, that's tough. You don't want to go 2 weeks off and then play a playoff game against a team who just played. That is real. Rest is one thing, but getting out of your rhythm is something else. You take the hottest hitter in baseball, and you go tell him to sit down and don't swing a bat for 4 days, see what happens. He ain't going to be the same hitter when he comes back. It's just a rhythm. It's just a thing. It's mojo. It's all that. That is real. That is a real thing with sports. I say play Cam Newton. I don't think it's even a question, really. I understand the whole don't let him get hurt, but you can't. He could have got hurt in the third game of the season. Now, you don't play like that. And if that's your mindset, then once you clinch the playoffs or once you clinch the number 1 seed, then sit everybody. You know, like that. There's no reason. If that's your mindset, then you should only be playing for clinching the 1 seed. And once you do that, sit the rest of your team. Who cares? But it's not about that, right? I'm in the boat of play Cam Newton. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Would you play Cam Newton or would you sit Cam Newton? Would you go for the undefeated season or not? Let me know. Do you think it's dumb to risk the injury just for an undefeated season, just to say you did it? Or do you think it's rhythm is real? Do you think that you have to play your team? You have to keep all engines firing or all pistons firing throughout the season? Let me know. All right, we're going to do winners now. I have no idea how long this is going to take. I've given myself a nice chunk of time because I can kind of go as a rants here. We originally I was going to do every single bowl game. I was going to pick every single bowl game. But I'm looking at these games, and I honest to God don't even know what these teams do. I don't know what these teams do. I don't know who the players are. I don't know how good they are. So we'll discuss the games, but I'm going to give you 3 college winners, just like in the regular season, and then the NFL winners are the same. First bowl game of the season, Arizona versus New Mexico. Arizona is -8. I'm taking New Mexico. I'm not. I don't know why I said that. Said the complete opposite thing of what I'm doing. I'm taking Arizona -8. Rich Rodriguez, Arizona, the Pac-12 can score points. I believe in them. New Mexico is a running team, and when the team is great at the run, but they're playing a team that can score a lot of points, no bueno. Arizona, Rich Rod, -8. Next game, BYU, Utah. Sneaky, nasty rivalry. These two teams hate each other. They despise each other. Utah was a surprise team in the first half of the season. They were in the top 5. I had them in my top 5, and they were knocking people off left and right. BYU, they kind of fell off towards the end there. The quarterback got hurt, but he's healthy now. Utah's -2.5, and I'm taking that 2.5. This is going to be a close one, though. You will be sweating, son. You will be sweating. This is one of those games that'll be a field goal, it'll be a 1-point game. Get yourself some beer. Get yourself some liquor. It's going to be nasty. Next. This is where it starts to get gross. Next game that we're putting on our top 3 here is San Jose State and Georgia State. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I haven't watched either of these two team plays. Have you seen these guys play? Because I haven't. But I know their offenses are strong. I know Georgia State's been good this year. So I'm going with the over of 55.5. So that's my 3 college games. The other games that are going on, Ohio versus Appalachian State, I have absolutely no idea. I would just go flip a coin. That'd be the same thing I'm doing. Then you got Arkansas State, Louisiana Tech. I have watched some Louisiana Tech this year because of Southern Miss. Jeff Driscoll, huge disappointment. Southern dominated them at home or at Louisiana Tech to get to the Conference USA Championship game. I know nothing on Arkansas State. And then finally, how about this one for a barn burner? Hold on to your butts for this one. Sam Houston State and Jacksonville State. I don't even know. I have no idea. So that's that. That is the College Bowl. College Bowl season's here. As a fun season, you've got games almost every couple days. And leading up to New Year's Eve when we get into the playoffs and we see who's going to hold that beautiful trophy. Cough, cough, Oklahoma. Like we said in our College Bowl preview, I think 2 shows ago. So we're feeling Oklahoma holding that big nasty trophy. So let's finish the show up. This could be a short one. I thought the college thing was going to last a lot longer, but I might have to drag out the NFL thing. I need to start getting some tweets or something from y'all, or some comments or questions y'all have, or it's just kind of some off-topic things that we could bring into the show whenever we don't have, whenever we're not up against the clock. So if you have anything, sports, pop culture, whatever, anything, any question, any statement, drop it down below in a comment, tweet it at me, whatever. Let's get crazy. Let's get y'all involved. Let's get the listener involved. That's what we got to do here. All right, NFL winners. The noon games. First one, Jacksonville -3 against Atlanta. Jacksonville is the real. Blake Bortles is the real. That's a good team. Allen Robinson. I think Yeldon might actually be hurt this week, or he's nursing something, but that's a good team. They put up points in a hurry. Bortles has that team moving in a real rapid pace in the right direction. He's getting a lot of comparisons to Ben Roethlisberger, and that's about right. Because Ben Roethlisberger grabbed Pittsburgh and said, we're going to the top. And Pittsburgh has been top flight since Roethlisberger's been there. They've won a couple of Super Bowls. They're always in the discussion. And that's how Bortles is doing. Bortles is taking Jacksonville and saying, all right, guys, we're gonna play at a higher level. We're going to play up. They could truly challenge. I'm not saying Bortles is as good as Andrew Luck, but they could truly challenge each other, Indianapolis and Jacksonville, for the next few years. If Jacksonville, you got to think, they blew a draft pick. They blew a top 10 pick on Justin Blackmon. And if he would have worked out, if he was as good as Dez Bryant, which he was billed to be, so let's say he was as big of a talent as Dez Bryant. If you've got Bortles, Bryant, Yeldon, Allen Robinson, that is a team. That is a team that's good enough to win, and that's all young players. I mean, Blackmon was drafted 3 years ago. If you replace that missing hole with a top 10 talent receiver, that's out of control. That's a good team. Jacksonville is no longer the punching bag joke that they've been since David Gerard left. And I think in one season, David Gerard, they went like 12-4. And then they got busted out of the playoffs, and that was about it. But they're not a joke anymore, man. So we're taking Jacksonville. Next, Kansas City, Baltimore. Okay, the line is Kansas City -7, 7.5. I just don't trust Kansas City. I just don't trust the Chiefs to score points. I don't trust them to blow somebody out. I've watched too many Kansas City games where Alex Smith gets check downy, we'll call it. He gets game managery, and they kill clock. They just don't. I don't trust them to score enough to beat a team by double digits. So, but I also don't trust Baltimore to score. So I'm going with the under of 42. Kansas City, Baltimore under 42. Next, the afternoon game, or one of them, Pittsburgh -6.5 against Denver. Pittsburgh is getting dangerous. We said it at the beginning of the year. They have the weapons, they have the guns, they have the talent to be a Super Bowl contending team. Then Roethlisberger got hurt. Then Le'Veon Bell got hurt. People are getting healthy. Roethlisberger's healthy. Antonio Brown, they got the connection working again. The running back game isn't Le'Veon Bell, but they've got D'Angelo Williams moving. They've got people that can step in, do what they got to do. Their wide receiver core right now is the best in the NFL. Antonio Brown, Marquise Bryant, I mean, they're nasty. Marcus Wheaton, they're gross. They're doing things out there. Pittsburgh, on the flip side, can't score. Brock Osweiler, I don't know if he's the training wheels aren't being taken off, if Kubiak is running too much run, play action, short passes, not letting him air it out. But they lost last week and they gave up 152 yards. They gave up 152 yards in a losing effort. That's crazy. So I'm saying Pittsburgh wins. Pittsburgh covers. They beat them. They just outscore them. Pittsburgh can score. I don't know if Denver can. So we're going with the Pittsburgh minus, where we get at, 6.5. Night game. I don't like this game. This is a trap. This is a trap. I can feel it in my loins. But I'm walking right into it. Like we say, it's not a trap if you know it's a trap. Arizona is traveling to Philadelphia, which we hate. We do not like West Coast teams traveling to the East Coast. Arizona's minus 3.5. Bad number. We don't like half points. We are going with Arizona minus 3.5. I haven't been impressed with Sam Bradford all year. I have not been impressed with him once. Not once. From the second he played his first game against Atlanta, go look at my Twitter. My tweet, I'm paraphrasing, but my tweet was something to the effect of, oops, the whole Philadelphia Eagle fan base just remembered who Sam Bradford was. Because he looked exactly how Sam Bradford's always looked. You know how it's like, oh no, Chip Kelly's going to turn him into Tom Brady. Nah, it didn't happen. He just was Sam Bradford. So, add that on to an incredible defense. Patrick Peterson, Tyrann Mathieu, those players. Bradford's going to get eaten alive. We're going to Arizona minus 3.5 on the road as a trap play. Monday night in the Dome in NOLA, an hour away from the luscious, lavish studios here in an undisclosed location in South Mississippi. New Orleans versus Detroit. Line is New Orleans minus 3. We are going with the Hoodats, New Orleans minus 3. Monday night in the Dome, prime time. I, honest to God, am taking this game strictly on the Dome. Prime time, New Orleans is just different. It's just different. And Detroit has not shown me a whole lot this year. Borderline have showed me nothing, except for helping me lose all my money on Thanksgiving. But we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about my debts. New Orleans, minus 3 against Detroit. Monday night game. Breeze is going to have a guys playing. And I was talking to a friend of mine. He said that Calvin Johnson is going to have 1,000 receptions. And I said, no way. He can't get 1,000 receptions when Brandon Browner's dragging him down at the line. If there's any game for Browner to do Browner things, it's this game. Hey, Browner, just go out there, hold, pass interference, bust him down, break him down, hurt him, do whatever you got to do. Don't let him catch the ball. Take the flags, keep him, bring him home, put him in a safe space, a locker or something, and enjoy them. You earned them. So that's my picks. That's the winners. Some of these are good. I'm thinking a positive week this week. I'm thinking we go over 500. We get in the money right in the time for Christmas, and you can buy your honey something nice. So thanks, guys, again for listening or watching, or if you were doing both. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. I really do think the product that we're putting out is better than anything you can find for free on the internet. I truly believe that. There is no other podcast that you will find for free that's being produced like we are, a sole production here in the studios, and like I've said 1,000 times, it's damn sure better than the local radio that they're trying to force you to listen. So thanks, guys, again for supporting me. I really do appreciate it. Enjoy your weekend. Christmas is almost here. Happy holidays. I'll see you guys on Monday.